initially wanted to become a teacher because my father was a teacher.
In terms of becoming a teacher, that wasn't my first choice. My first choice was actually going into law school.
You know, went through the physics coursework and started tutoring and said, you know, this is kind of fun. I kind of like having to do this with people, and that's sort of what made me want to be a teacher.
I've been surrounded by educators my entire life.
I had a really great English teachers in high school.
Well, aside from having off June, July, and August, what made me want to become a teacher is I really did not feel fulfilled personally in my previous job.
A desire just to be able to make some kind of difference in the world.
Originally, I wanted to be a journalist.
Well, both of my parents were teachers, math teachers in fact, and I have to admit I never thought that I would become a teacher.
I actually wanted to be the teacher that I never truly had.
The transition from high school into college can be a major adjustment. For the teaching profession, the transition from college to the real world can be an even greater challenge.
Teaching is nothing how they told me about it would be in college. In college, they're so focused, and I'm not putting down college or university in any way, but they spend a lot of time focusing on how you would teach and the way you would teach it and the process of giving information to them. But really, the thing that I found to be a more practical use of time in learning how to become a teacher would be classroom management.
It's really difficult for a college to properly inform you about what teaching is going to be like. It's really impossible for them to do that because students in different schools are so different. There's no way to prepare you for whatever specific situation you're going to get into.
My first year of teaching was in Philadelphia, and it was nothing like what they said teaching was going to be like. Because there it was a lot of disadvantaged, a lot of students that had broken homes, orphans actually, and so it was very different because I thought it was going to be teaching content, and it turns out that you have to teach the student first, meet them where they are, and then once the relationship's developed, then you can teach the content.
Being prepared in college for teaching is completely different from actually teaching itself. Having gone through an education program at Gettysburg College, I taught at Gettysburg High School through student teaching, and I also spent a year abroad teaching in Ghana in West Africa and also Vienna, Austria, which were two completely different situations. That being said, college did prepare me for working with kids. However, education as a whole here in the United States and in different parts of the United States is completely, they differ.
Coming into the world of teaching, adjusting to diverse situations can be a challenge for teachers. Luckily, a teacher's best resource for dealing with issues is often found in the people they work with every day, other teachers.
Some advice that I would give to a new teacher is to not be so hard on yourself, because I think when you first start off teaching, you come out of school with the naive mindset that all students are going to love your lessons and all students are going to love you as a teacher, and that's not true. So you just have to take it day by day, and I know with experience, even just being my third year in, I feel like I've gotten way better than how I was the first year of teaching. So I just say, just keep doing your best and don't give up, don't be hard on yourself, don't constantly compare yourself to other teachers, because one day, you'll get there. It takes experience and it takes time.
You can't take things personally that high school kids will say, because that they're going to be frustrated or they're going to be angry at life in general at times, because high school is a really difficult time in your life. You're growing, things are changing, and so you can't, as a teacher, take things personally, and you can't worry about whether people in your class like you and the decisions you make, because you're there to help them, and you can see the future maybe better than a high school kid see. What's better for them right now may not be a popular decision. So you can't get upset when kids will try to either act out by making fun of you, making fun of your appearance, making fun of the things you say, things that you want to do that you know will be good for them in the long run, but they might not see the benefits in the short term.
broaden your horizons. Don't just look at life through your lens, but consider that of others. Understand that your experiences are not necessarily that of your students. Be willing to not just teach, but also to learn from them. And be willing to demonstrate that life is a learning experience and that learning is a constant.
Advice for a new teacher is to definitely plan ahead, definitely be prepared for class. It's tough to be prepared for something that you've never really truly experienced before. You know, you can only be so much prepared for student teaching. You're going to have a lot of sleepless nights. You're going to be very, very tired all the time. You're going to be drinking a lot of coffee. You're going to need to talk to other teachers in the same field or other teachers. You need to reach out for help if you don't know what to do.
From advanced technology to slang, teachers must adapt to changes in the classroom and a new wave of students every year.
I think if you look today, kids they're using their phones more. Every teacher has a laptop. Everything's computer driven. Everything's saved on computers, produced on computers. So I think technology's been the biggest change over the last 29 years that I've been teaching. As far as the kids, kids are still the same. They haven't changed much. It's everything around them has changed.
Teaching, I don't know that teaching's changed a lot in the 21 years since I've been doing it. I think in some ways teaching's become more of a student-centered sort of experience, a lot less lecture and more student participation, especially using the technology, laptops, even student-owned devices like their phones in class. That's been, I think, the biggest change.
The time that kids have to invest in school has certainly changed. I think the kids are virtually the same in terms of the way they think, the way they process, the way they care about their learning, the way they look toward the future. The pressure, the competitiveness of colleges has increased, which adds a great deal of stress. But, you know, in essence, kids are always the same. And I marvel at that every decade or so. I think, wow, it's really not that much different.
Teaching has changed because it's become less about the person delivering the message and more about those who are learning. Teaching has become more student-driven, student-centered, and research-based, and allows for students to investigate for themselves the information that they're learning in school.
Looking towards the future, teachers only hope to continue to be positive and work to better their students.
You know, I hope in 5 or 10 years I'm still the kind of teacher that is passionate about what I do, still wants to learn as much as possible about my field, about the content, and about my students. I hope I don't lose that drive to better myself, to better my classroom, my curriculum, and to improve the way that I work with my students.
I don't see myself as changing. I think I'm going to be the way I am now because I'm, you know, anxious each year to start the year and see the next group of kids. I don't see myself changing other than I'll be a little bit older. I don't think there'll be any less hair. That's impossible. But you know, I don't see myself changing because I really do love this job.
I think in 5 years in terms of teaching, I see myself implementing a whole lot more technology. You know, when I was in high school, which was only 7 years ago, you look at the University of Phoenix, you look at different colleges that were only on online degrees, and they were criticized for that. And currently, a lot of colleges and a lot of high schools in public education are moving towards this hybrid online learning situation. And I think in 5 to 10 years, we're going to start to see that change.
Hopefully I'll be the same very stoic, serious, content-based teacher that I am now. Okay, probably not. I'd like to be as energetic then as I am now.
Being highly motivated and driven translates well in any job. For teachers, the kids they see in the classroom provide that extra push to come to work every day.
motivates me to be a good teacher, I think, is a lot of my coworkers and who I work with, because I see, what they do every day, and even the teachers that I had in high school. And that motivates me to be the best teacher that I can be, so hopefully one day I can be as good as they are. And also just my students, because I want to be able to provide them with the education that they deserve.
Well, since I'm going to be retiring in a year and a half, I've done a lot of reflecting on how I've changed as a teacher over the years. And obviously the first couple of years, what was more important to me was being liked, knowing my subject, convincing kids that I was, even though I was only 22, 23 years old, that I knew so much more. And now I think I view the job as I'm way more confident. I know how to challenge kids to think on their own rather than telling them what to think or to do. Or I teach them how to learn rather than just the what's on the learning. There's a lot more conversation about the why of learning. So I've become better and more confident. I think the really cool thing is that I've never stopped learning myself, and I like to share that in the classroom.
My motivation for trying to be a good teacher, I think, sort of stems from my motivation for going into teaching 21 years ago, which was hoping in some small way to make a difference in people's lives. And so that continues to be, I think, my motivation today is that am I doing a good job for the students that come before me?
Science is always growing, it's always changing, and so I don't always teach just physics to my kids. Sometimes it's other stuff that's happening in the world, like climate change or the latest development in technology. And I think what motivates me is that if science is always changing, then my teaching methods and what I do and the way I do it should also be evolving as well.
Some teachers can have an extremely positive impact on students' lives. What not many see is the other side of this coin. Students can truly change teachers' lives as well.
I'm thinking changing of myself came about as I saw some of the students that I teach in their lives. You can have a kid that comes in, they're very happy all the time, and a lot of times that's not necessarily the way it is. So I have gotten to see that people present a different side of them than kind of what's most obvious. So I think it's changed me in the fact that I am more in tune to a person and kind of the background that person brings and what motivates them. And also some of the injuries that they have, that sometimes just a kind word can really make their day, because you don't really know everyone's story just because they're sitting next to you in class. They actually might be homeless, they may have abuse in their background, or parents that have substance abuse or whatever, so you never know.
I don't know that teaching's made me a better person, but it certainly keeps you in line. There's not a lot of room for error if you're a teacher. You can't make mistakes. You gotta watch what you say, watch what you do, even inside and outside the classroom. So I think teaching, it keeps you honest, it keeps you morally sound, and keeps you young.
I think it has made me a better person, and believe it or not, I think it's made me a better parent, because I see things that are going on, in school. So many of them are not fun things to deal with, but I think, having some empathy for kids, and maybe what their background is, what their life is like, I think it's made me thankful, for what I've had, the benefits I've had in my life, but also noticing things and things that I've done in my classroom, I've done, and strategies I've used with my kids, and just being understanding, because if you come in and you're just everything by the book and pretend that kids don't have feelings or things going on in their lives, that you're not going to be successful, and I don't think kids will respect you for that. So I think there's a middle ground, and being more understanding, I think, has made me a better person.
Teaching has made me a better person in terms of a citizen of the United States. I feel more engaged within my community. I feel more engaged in what I'm teaching and what I'm learning. In terms of, what education and what teaching has done for me, I think also it's allowed me to see the opportunities that I have to interact with our next generation.
A repetitive schedule in any job can be a nuisance. It takes a certain drive and motivation to stand in front of a class and teach for more than 7 hours, seeing over 90 kids throughout the day, 5 days a week, prepare lessons, grade papers, and get up and start over the next day.
I'm motivated to continue teaching in large part because I still enjoy what I'm doing. I don't sort of grumble about having to go to work in the morning. I really enjoy doing what I'm doing. I enjoy being in the classroom with kids. And if I didn't, like I said, this would be a rough job if I didn't like what I was doing. So I still enjoy what I'm doing a whole lot, and so that's why I'm still doing it.
Well, I think it's how I was brought up. My parents, I think, did a very good job raising 5 kids, and we take pride in what we do. All my siblings, brothers and sisters, take after my parents. My father taught 37 years, never missed a day of work in 37 years. So I think number one reason why I do what I do is probably because of my parents.
The thing that motivates me to continue to teach is just every year having, a new set of students, new ideologies, new beliefs, new ambition, and wanting to help shape and mold them so that they can become productive members of our society.
I am happy. I love this school. I love the awards and everything that Liberty gets for how well we do, and I like seeing kids be successful and learning. I love my subject material, global studies and sports history. I'm excited to teach that every year, and the things that have changed with my course, new things that are coming in, and so I'm happy to see kids continue to learn.
I guess I'm hoping that I'll be a lot more confident in what I'm doing. I think as a younger teacher, I still constantly compare myself to the more seasoned teachers here, so hopefully in about 5 or 10 years I'll be completely comfortable in what I'm doing and what I'm teaching.
Somewhere along the line, I hope to feel kids understanding something that they don't normally understand. My classes that I teach is I teach kids about the world in a way that they don't really think about it ever before.
I think what motivates me to continue teaching is just the drive to keep improving myself, to improve my class, my curriculum, my own skills and knowledge, and to use that to teach the kids better, to give them a better education and give them more opportunities to succeed in the future.
In terms of motivation of being a good teacher, I've been surrounded by educators my whole life. My mom's a teacher, my grandfather was a principal at elementary schools in the district, and just being a part of the Bethlehem Area School District, I've been surrounded by fantastic teachers that I currently work with. In terms of motivation outside of those factors, I think just the whole component of using education, what Nelson Mandela says is using education, education is the greatest weapon that you can use to change the world.
I feel that this is where I'm supposed to be. I think that the gifts and the talents that I have been refined over the years, so I think that I'm in the exact position that I should be in. So I'm highly interested in the subject material. I like working with people, so I think this is just where I'm supposed to be.
Just being around kids, you want to be, it's almost as if you're on the stage all the time, but I'm not on stage alone. I'm on stage with the 30 kids in my class, and I feel that I'm perhaps the greatest cheerleader, the great motivator, to perform better, to challenge kids to do more. So, and that's where I gain my energy from, is the synergy of the classroom and the synergy of the group, the kids all together. I love what I do. I love my subject, and I love kids and the enthusiasm that you can bring out of them when they're actually learning and recognizing that they want to grow. It's a great job.